talk is by Professor Godabarish Mishra ji. Namaste, sir. Please come online. Request you to come online. He will be speaking, Professor Mishra will be speaking on the topic Encountering the Buddhist Challenges the Vedantic Way. Dr. Mishra is a professor and dean at School of Buddhist Studies, Philosophy and Comparative Religion at Nalanda International University. Earlier, he served as visiting professor in the School of Humanities and Social Sciences at the IIT Bhubaneswar. Formerly, he was also chairman of School of Philosophy and Religious Thought, as well as the professor and head of Department of Philosophy at University of Madras. He was the editor at Kuppuswamy Shastri Research Institute, Chennai during 1985 to 88. And he was also the member secretary of the Indian Council of Philosophical Research, New Delhi during 2007 to 2011. And he has also been editor of Journal of Indian Council of Philosophical Research. Dr. Mishra was awarded with Charles Wallace Visiting Fellowship to study at Oxford University, UK. He was also a visiting professor at Oxford Center for Hindu Studies in UK and at Mahatma Gandhi Institute at Mauritius. His main areas of specialization include Indian philosophical schools, particularly Vedanta and Buddhism, especially classical and textual traditions. He has published more than 50 research papers on classical and contemporary Indian thought and comparative philosophy, and has authored many review articles in national and international journals. At present, Dr. Mishra is completing a project of 2 volumes of Encyclopedia of Indian Philosophy, Advaita Vedanta, assigned to him by late Karl Potter. We are very fortunate to have you, sir. Please go ahead and start your session.
ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्ति भेद विभागिने व्योमवद् व्याप्त देहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। ब्रह्मसूत्र कृते तस्मै वेदव्यासाय धीमते ज्ञानसत्यवताराय नमो भगवतो हरे। नत्वा विशुद्ध विज्ञान संकरं करुणाकरं भाष्यं प्रसन्न गंभीरं तत्प्रणीतं विभज्यते। Respected scholars, co-participants, Professor Patori, I am grateful to Indica for this opportunity to be a part of your enterprise to make Indian philosophy relevant to the present generation. I have no words to thank the introductory speaker, Dr. Patori, for his remarks, and all other my previous speakers. But I would like to say, like, I don't know, my idea was to get into the real dialectics of Acharya Sankara and Vajaspati Mishra. But I don't know I will have that time to do that today. I'll just give a few hints here and there. But I would like to speak a little about the traditions as it has come down to us in a concocted way, more because of the lens through which we have looked our tradition. And the lens, the mirror is not ours. That is what has happened. I would only say that, India never became culturally, philosophically subjugated. It was only a political, economic subjugation. And throughout the Islam and Islamic period, Sultanate of Delhi and British Raj, somehow we survived our tradition. But of late, after independence, we find there is a total degeneration of tradition. We don't see our face in the proper mirror. There is no mirror to see our face, and Indica has provided such a mirror. I'm thankful to you, all of you, Dr. Patori, Nitinji, everybody. And one thing I would like to say, that just because Hegel onwards, even before Hegel, we have been demeaned, belittled, that does not mean we should accept what they have given. It is, I would always say, I always tell my students that it is nothing wrong of the stanu if the andha does not see it. Nayam stanor aparadha yadyayam andha na pashyati. I would start my deliberation from here. And first observation that I would like to give you, Dr. Patori, I think you are there in the audience. Buddhism is not a different, totally different system, like totally divorced from the Indian systems of religiosity, if I am permitted to use that word religion, because we are not religions. We don't have India, Buddhism, Hinduism, whichever called, all these are not religions in the strict sense of the term. We can manage ourselves without God, manage ourselves without book, with book and without book. But all these are required to as salient features of so-called religion in the Abrahamic tradition. Dr. Bhaturi gave a lot of insights about that. So, Buddhism, number one, is not a different religion. It comes in our tradition, Vedic Vaidika Ganga. Buddha, if you see him, who is Buddha? What is Buddha? We have Shankara, this is Shankara. We can say, one, you, the Jiva Brahma Aikya is Shankara. You know, we can take something, Ramanuja, I can say in Tattva Traya, you know, Madhva, Veda, all these I can tell. What is which one is Buddha? Where is Buddha? What is the central philosophical tenet of the Buddha? There is no such thing at all. So when we are contrasting Buddhism as a separate, I have some observation. I would say that Buddha followed the Vedas. He had some observations. What observations he had, that is a different question. Shankara, in some way or other, tried to work with Ramanuja, follows Shankara. Madhva follows Ramanuja. Even till today, the whole tradition is one tradition. Just because they have told that you are all dead, Sanskrit is dead, Indian philosophy is not there after 15th century, we are not, I am not to accept all these things. These are all crafts. Number one. Number two, you know, what my previous speaker told, I accept all his views. Still, I would like to say nothing wrong in accepting these two statements, tam bande vipadam varam, naitad buddhena bhasitam. Gaudapada is very clear, emphatic in his view that Buddha has told certain things, but this is not there. I don't have time, he has already given. But when you say tam bande vipadam varam, I am not sure whether Gaudapada and Sankara, they are distant in age. Maybe he was having Buddha in his mind. That's all. I just submit this to this audience. Number one. Why? Because I find there is a tradition that which says Gaudapada was a Buddhist who eventually and subsequently become an Vedantic, and his thesis is simple. Even the smallest of Upanishads can speak about the greatest of the truths. Buddha, you may be great, but Upanishad is greater. This is his view. What I mean to submit here to you, Dr. Patorian. Gaudapada was a liberal Vedantic, whereas Shankara was a radical Vedantic. His grand disciple comes with the package. This is not how we can upkeep the tradition which has more than 10,000 years of known history. That is the Vedas. In order to bring that back, the smallest Upanishads will do. You don't have to go to all the, you cannot just scrap in one sentence that there is nothing. The Vedas have to, need not be accepted. So this is my second observation. And third observation, is how Advaita has been seen by the post-Shankara Advaitics. They have tried to undo the claims of Advaita in Shankara, especially. Yadava Prakash Ramanuja is very. Now today, Dr. Alvar is there, who will be speaking about this in an elaborate way. Yat sunyavadinam sunyam tadeva brahmamayinam. He does not take the name of Shankara or anybody, Mai. Those who believe in Maya, they are only sunyavadis. I'll come to that. It later toward the end of my talk. That will be my point. Whether Sunyavada and Advaitavada are same or different would be my talk toward the end if time comes. So this is Yat Sunyavadinam Sunyam Tadeva Brahmamaya. Okay. Answer to this is beautifully given by Madhusudana Saraswati, who says, what is Advaita? Nasti Dvaitam Yatra. Where is Yatra in your tradition? Sunya does not have an Adhisthana. You are talking about Sunya. How can there be? Yatra. Yasmin Adhikarane. Adhisthane. Okay. Dvaitam Nasti. We are not talking about Eka. We are not talking about. We are talking about Advaita. Okay. So that is why. That is why, according to our tradition, Shankara, we are talking about Advaita. And I wanted to tell you one more thing. And this is also very important. The Amarakosha, the first century, the lexicon by Amarasimha, he says, Sarvagya Sugato Buddhaha Dharmarajas Tathagata Samantavatra Bhagavan Marajit Lokajatsinah Dasavalo Advayavadi Vinayakaha. Advayavadi. No, he says that Buddha is an Advayavadi. And that is not what he says. Maybe Nagarjuna was living that time. Nagarjuna himself says. Okay? So, giving and taking, going together, harmony has been all the times there. I must say, till our times. And that is also one of the things that I would like to present. So now, so that is one thing. First thing is that the idea that that we have been presented is not right. We have been portrayed is not right. I would always, I am not going to the life and other things of the Buddha. I just wanted to say the Western portrayal of Indian tradition is most of the times wrong, but not all of them. There are many thinkers, historians, linguists who have gone along with this. So we cannot show our hand to everybody. And therefore that is number one. Number two, this is a tradition that has been going on and off by assimilation. See, dissent does not mean two brothers may disagree on certain points, but they are not different. But the way today it has been portrayed that Buddhism is totally different is not acceptable, not good. Okay. So I see many things, so many things. I'll come to Vachaspati Mishra, Sri Hatsi, if time permits, to give you a brief account of how the tradition has been, taking up things together with dissent. Difference of opinion is not enmity. Difference of opinion is not discarding. Difference of opinion is not to throw them out of the orbit of philosophical discussion. If that were the case, you think Shankara would have taken so much pains, Ramanuja would have taken so much pains to refute Buddhism? When I refute somebody, I accept to some extent what I say, and I disagree with certain points, maybe in no uncertain words or 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 liberally. Therefore, as I told you, Gaudapada was a liberal Vedantin. Shankara was a radical Vedantin. How it will be, I'll come to that. Now I come to Buddha. As I have already told you, what is Vedanta? How, if in my, actually, I know only little of Shankara, very little, nothing else I do. And, what is Shankara? In all his writings, there are two exercises that Shankara has tried to make. One, if you want to do meaningful philosophy of the reality of the self, relating to the God, if you have accepted the three things, okay, Jiva, Jagat and Ishvara, then Upanishads have to be accepted as authority. Number one. Number two, Samkhya view of creation, that which will in some way or other include all the views of creation, is not right. What is right? That there is no creation is right. Ajativada. Where the Ajativada come from? Ajativada is taken by the Buddhists. As I told you, it comes from the Vedas. Upanishads taken by the Buddhas, magnified by Shankara, and post Shankara Vedantins, including the Vedantins of our time, living Ganga, Darsana Ganga of India, Bharatiya Darsana Ganga. One more thing I wanted to tell Dr. Patori, we have always tried to do with this in Astika and Astika. Astika is a strong term, no doubt about it. Like Shankara, like Vachaspati, everybody, all tradition uses this word Astika and Astika. But I would like to say that even in Buddhist tradition, the commentators refer Buddha as Astika of that tradition, our tradition, no. So taking the cue from here, the West has tried to divide our tradition, which is to me a little unacceptable, and that is my thought. And you can see how how is Buddha different from us? He does not accept an absolute God, right? Which is given by Amarkosakara. Vinayakaha means Buddha. Vigataha Nayakaha Yasmin Mate. Nayaka, there is no absolute God in his view. Creator God. Creator God is not. Anyway, now I come to present before you, and I will go up to maybe 12:45. Okay, so Gautama, the founder of the Buddhism, was called Buddha, the enlightened, and he has, as I told you, Sugato Buddha, all these things. He did not write any book, but taught his doctrines orally, oral tradition, the same tradition. After his death, his disciples spread, two disciples mainly, he did not have. See, Gautama, there is a big distance between the time of Buddha and the time of, it is only Ashoka after the Kalinga War took up a large project of preaching Buddhism around the globe, everywhere. And the Brahmana Kshatriya cleavage that Dr. Patori was telling, I am not comfortable with that, because There are many, it is only the Kshatriyas who have accepted Shankara's, Vaidika Vada to make it a, a acceptable so-called religion around the country. Around the country means greater India. It is only Kshatriyas. So, and there are many Kshatriya writers here, there are many Brahmins. See, who are the writers of that tradition? Nagarjuna was a Brahmin, Asanga was a Brahmin, Dignaga was a Brahmin, Dharmakrita was a Brahmin. Who is not like, that is not acceptable to me. But that view they have given, that is what you are also not accepting, I'm sure. But you have only reiterated what their view is, which is not acceptable, because there is no such thing here at all. So the different interpretations in Buddhism appeared after the death of the Buddha. So in order to unify the teachings, there are councils, all of you know about that. And differences among the schools are not always philosophically important. I wanted to tell you that there are 200 Buddhist schools. Okay, I'll talk about that. So an error has arisen in the interpretation of Indian culture, which I have already cited, due to the high degree of importance in which Buddhism and Jainism rose. But they are really, so to say, if you take a model, there are Protestant movements within the so-called Hinduism, that is Arya Dharma. Another submission, Dr. Patori. I would like to change this Hindu Sanatana to Arsa Dharma. It is a Rishi. It's a Rishi-centric. Is it? It is always Rishi-centric. So I would propose this Arya Dharma as Arsa Dharma. And I don't mind making Mahavira and Gautama as a participants of that Dharma. If you have the tradition of Khandana and Mandana within your tradition, if Shankara is answering Kapila, saying that Mahajana Parigruhitani Sankhyaadi Tantrani, if he says, why not? What is wrong? Tampande Vipadam Varam. Like nothing. Even Prachanna Buddha, I have my own views. The word is strong, but the tradition imbibes from each other, learns from each other. Nothing like that has happened. We have to understand it that way. So the it takes all the Buddhist schools. As I told you, there will be 200, more than 200 schools. The difference among the schools is not always of philosophical importance, as many of them differed only one another in very minor details. An error has arisen in the interpretation of Indian culture due to high degree of, as I told you, importance that we have given to these two, the Arya Dharma, Arsa Dharma. Okay, they are really the Protestant movements within this, and neither has, what is the difference is, neither have accepted a supreme being. But such a rejection is also found in our traditions. Mimamsakas, Samkhya's, to some extent, Vaisheshikas don't accept God. There are sects other than Buddhism and Jainism which rejected the authoritative of the Vedic scripture, like Ajivakas. Okay. Among them also Orthodox schools clubbed the Jainas, and Buddhists also rejected the Ajivakas. The Charvakas also rejected, like Vedas. If the Ajivakas and Charvakas can be Hindus, there is every justification to call Hindu, Jainism and Buddhism as forms of this Arsa Dharma. What is that? Arya Dharma, so-called Buddhism. Okay. As I have already told, as already spoken by Dr. Patori, the Hinduism has no definite meaning, and we may even say does not mean anything. Indeed, the differentiation of Hinduism with all its so-called amorphous meaning from Jainism and Buddhism has continued so long that it is now forgotten that they were originally different paramparas of the same religion. I would say the traditions, sects of the same religion, Arya Dharma. the noble way of life. At least up to the 15th century, when the Vijayanagara Empire was strong in the south, my main area of research, what I studied when I did was Vijayanagara Empire and Vidyaranyaka. Therefore, I'm very... So, up to Vijayanagara Empire, the Hindus were not calling themselves as Hindus, but the followers of this Arsha Dharma, Sanatana Dharma, Arya Dharma, and Vedika Dharma. The differences was made only on the basis whether a man was following a Vedic way, Jaina way, or Buddhist way, all of which were forms of Aryan way. Arsha Dharma. That is the word I would like to give, and I submit to all of you to think. Arsha Dharma. So at the time, at that time, at least all the three were equally non-Indian. Equally same for the non-Indians. So the equally taken by the non-Indians. All were follower of the Aryan way. Buddhism, Jainism, Shaivism, Vaishnavism can be rightly treated as sects of the same religion. Like Buddhism and Jainism, like Shaivism and Vaishnavism can be treated as the same religion. In fact, there is evidence to show that all these three were mixing with one another in actual life and social relationships and religious practices. Even among the Shaivas and Vaishnavas, there are subsects which do not interdine, but there are sects among them. They do everything together. That togetherness is now gone because of the so much separation that has been brought in our thinking, which must go. Buddhism is not a totally different. Why I am telling this is, if that were the case, you think Shankara has written about Abrahamic religions? He has written about Buddha. He has written about Jaina. He has written about Samkhya. Pradhanavalla Nivarananya he does. So, respect. And I want to tell you how much effort Vachaspati takes to understand Buddhism and present Buddhism. I have been trying now for some time to understand Vachaspati, how he deals with Buddhism. Sometimes very difficult to understand what Vachaspati says. How he, Dignaka, Dharmakirti, he brings everybody, Vasudhandu, everybody he brings and tries to do it. So now I have two things in my mind today that I would like to do. And it was Acharya Shankara who has, seen Buddhism from the lens of, or through the lens of Upanishads. And how he sees, that is what I would like to present before you in another few minutes. Now, Shankara is, and I have already told you what all Buddha does. Buddha is trying to bring three things that, everything is unreal, essenceless, and there cannot be to speak of a creator God is not necessary, and all these things that has been happening in the so-called religiosity of the country is not acceptable because they suffer from either Saswata Vada or Uchcheda Vada, and I would go with Madhyama Pratipatha. So the whole Buddhism was developed through the three types of schools. There are many, as I told you, 200 schools: Sarvastivada, Vijnanavada, and Sunyavada. So the first Sarvastivada, which has two schools, Sautrantika and Vaisheshika, they belong to the Hinayana Parampara, and Vijnanavada and Sunyavada belong to the Mahayana. And the first, that is Hinayana school, they believed in the reality of the outside objects. I am coming to Shankara because that is what I wanted to present before you. Time permits, Vachaspati will come. So, Sri Vachaspati Mishra, I am telling Shankara, Acharya Shankara, Bhagavad Vada Shankara. So now, as I told you, only Shankara. My time is up, Nitinji, or what?
Sir, you can conclude in another 5 minutes.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm already okay. So okay. So Sarvastivada school is criticized by Shankara in saying that there is one sutra in Vyasa Sutra. Samudaya ubhaya hetu gepi tada prapti. Sri Shankar, the greatest of the philosophers of our country, the greatest person who has given the not only brought back the history, brought back the geography, brought back the culture, brought back everything to us. If you are Indian, it is Shankara can be done. What Shankara says, let me read. वैशेषिकराधान्तः दूर्युक्ति योगात् वेद विरोधात् शिष्ट परिग्रहाच्च न अपेक्षितव्यः इति उक्तम्. सो अर्धवैनाशिकः इति वैनाशिकत्व साम्यात् सर्ववैनाशिक सिद्धान्तः न तराम् अपेक्षितव्यः इदानीम् इति इदानीम् उपपादयामः. Now, once Samkhya goes, refutation goes. Okay. Rachananupapatti henanuman. So comes. Now this is the sutra number 18, I think. So he says that Vaisheshika Radhanta is nearer. There is Ardha Vainashika. Now Sampurna Sarva Vainashika Radhanta I will be presenting before you, and it is not acceptable. Why? Because why? Because if there is an external, they say that there is an external cause and for the creation of the world. Now, if you say that there is an external cause for the Sarvastivada, tell me whether there are momentary cause or there are permanent cause, or an intelligent principle, or a material cause. Four things. If it is momentary, then it cannot be the cause of the aggravation. Momentary means how they will join. Every stage goes, the originated, exists, and gets vanished, destroyed. How can that be a cause? Momentariness, if you accept, you cannot accept Sarvastivada. Very simple. How can such a momentary cause, samudaya ubhaya hetu kepi tada prapti sutra? It can never do anything in just one moment. If you say it is permanent, then it goes against your basic view. I am coming to Shankara. Because you have because of your Kshanikavada will not accept anything permanent. If it is external, now you say whether it is external or intelligent, you don't accept anything intelligent. And if it is material, it cannot do anything because it cannot be just a matter, cannot aggregate things. You need Chetan. So to escape the above difficulty, if you say that aggregation takes place spontaneously, there will be eternal creation or there will be no dissolution. So what is that is responsible for the relation of between the mental and physical world, which is experienced. Therefore, the Buddhist theory cannot explain the cause for the aggregation of both or the relation between both, and therefore it is unacceptable. Okay. Now there are other things like you may say that the collection is possible because of mutual causality. Time is not there. I don't want to go into that because there is origination alone will be affected. If you say then, so sutra itaretara pratyayatvat iti chet na utpatti matra nimittatvat. No time. So the everything Shankara deals in keeping with greatness of Shankara. Dr. Patur is he presents the school as it is. Many schools, I always say that we do not know Shankara knew. Like how many Samkhya schools were there? We are not aware of. We are giving only one Samkhya school. He gives, there are so many, he gives a reference to many Samkhya schools. So that is number two. Then I come to the Vijnanavada school since there is no time at all. So the Vijnanavada is based on the fact that every thing, the reality is nothing but Vijnana. So there is only subjective world of cognition, that is the only reality, and this is a momentary reality, Kshanika Vijnana. According to this Yogachara Vijnanavada school, the external world is not existent. Shankara asked, in what sense the external world is not existent? Does it mean external world is non-existent like Akasa Kusuma, Bandhyaputra, square circle, or it is not existent like a dream object? Sky, flower is not an object. World is experienced. So that your first contention will not be right. And therefore, but and if you say it is like dream, it is like dream. Tell us, this dream is experienced or not experienced? Okay, so Shankara goes to say that the either way you cannot put this as what is that? True. Vijnanavada cannot take, because Kshanika Vijnanavada will not be accepted at all. So how do we, like, what is the way to get out of this problem? In either way you can handle this problem of the Vijnana being the reality. Okay, so now comes, I'll finish within few minutes. 2 minutes you give me. So because I'm very because of the constraint of time, I'm not able to tell you the like with clarity all the views that Shankara is propounding here. And so Shankara goes to say that in whichever way you take Buddhism, the Buddha's views, you cannot prove the Kshanikatva to be the criteria of reality. Okay, that is the number one problem. So now Shankara goes to say, see, what happens is smriti. There is something called smarana. How does it happen? If you take everything on the basis of Kshanika, then it will not actuate, like actually present before us. What is smriti? Anusmriteshya. There are a lot of other things about this. I'm not dealing with that. Okay, so there are many things. There are pratisankhya, apratishankhya, all these problems are there. Shankara deals with this very elaborately. Okay, so he says nasato adrushtatvat. Okay, so now you, like, whichever way you go, you cannot prove your thesis with this Anatma Vada and Kshanika Vada. Okay, now Shankara goes on to Sunyavada. So in Sunyavada, like Vijnanavada, I could not explain properly because of the paucity of time. Another forum, sometimes one school should be taken into consideration, not all the schools. So when Shankara comes to Vijnanavada, he says, the sutra starts with this is Abhava Adhikarana. Okay, so he says that evam bahyarthavadam asritya samudaya apraप्त्यादिषु दूषणेषु उद्भावितेषु विज्ञानवादी बौद्धः इदानीं प्रत्यवतिष्ठते. Okay, so now he says Vijnanavada comes to argue with
Sir,
me.
sir, sorry for the
I'm
sorry
finishing.
for the
I'm finishing.
interruption. Yeah, please.
Okay, no. So now I'll skip Vijnanavada. So now Shankara comes to the Sunyavada, and while coming Sunyavada, Shankara is very pungent in his views, and Shankara says, the Sunyavada is without any essential argument at all. He says, Shankara says that this about the Sunyavada, I wanted to tell something. There are many Western scholars who have given the view what my previous speaker told, that is it a question about the Sunyavada makes a lot of, as I told you, there is no core of Buddhism, which tradition is right, which is like we cannot the pinpoint that this is the essential tenet of what is that Buddhism. But when Sunyavada comes, on Sunyavada there are a lot of thinking, which Shankara did not deal elaborately on the sutra. Sarvathanupapatischa, I will take 1 minute. Sarvathanupapatischa is taken up by Sureshwar and Vachaspati Mishra. I don't have time but I would definitely speak about what Shankara speaks so beautifully. Sarvathanupapatischa sutra. So he says, Kim bahuna सर्व प्रकारेण यथा यथा यम वैनाशिक समयः उपपत्तिमत्वाय परीक्षते तथा तथा सीकताकूपैव विसिर्यते एव. Whenever you take this into account, it is like a sandy well which will get filled up, and you cannot dig, you cannot make a sandy well, because in the sand will always cover up the place that is dug. I don't find any logic, any reason in the views that has been propounded by these Buddhists, especially Sunyavadins, Nagarjuna, and the tradition of Nagarjuna. Chandrakirti is a brilliant, so he referred to Chandrakirti so beautifully. Sachatta atacha anupaparnaha Vainashika Tantra Vyavaharaha, whichever way you go to propound the Vainashika, this Buddhist Tantra, it is Anupaparnaha, it cannot be established at all. This is a very beautiful sentence. Bahyarthavada Vijnanavada Sunyavada Tritayam Itaretar Viruddham Vadata Sugatena Spatikrutam Atmanaha Sambadha Pralabhitvam Pradvesova Prajasu Viruddhartha Pratipatya Vimevheyu Imaha Prajaha iti. It is all because of his not giving a proper direction. He has propounded 4 schools: Bahyarthavada, Vijnanavada, Sunyavada, like 3 schools at least. So which way you like, if the 4 wheels of a car runs in different direction, which direction it has? No direction at all. So directionlessness is the philosophy of Buddha, and there is no philosophy at all. I would like to bring Vachaspati Mishra, otherwise that is what Agama bhasaha parihvrutaha bhavanti ayuktam tvam tvesham vijnanat vichhinna mulatvat pramana viruddhartha abhidhanacha kaischidevam mlechadivihi purusha pasadehi pasuprayehi parigrahat bodhavyam. He says this is not a system to be taken very seriously, but as Dr. Patori has told, we have Buddhist submissions, their answers, responses to this also. Some other time we shall deal with it. Thank you.
But thank you for taking time and coming on our program and sharing your thoughts on the shared philosophical and cultural history of Hindu and Buddhist schools, especially shedding light on how Shankara Bhagavad Padacharya has dealt with some doctrines of the Buddhas.